Lust is one of the most misunderstood forces in the human experience. We're taught to shame it, to hide it, to fear it, or on the other extreme, to chase it mindlessly, hoping it will fill a void it was never meant to answer. But lust at its core is simply energy, pure, primal, and intensely alive. It's not inherently good or bad. It's raw voltage. It's the ancient pull in the gut, the throb behind the heartbeat, the rush that floods the body without permission. It doesn't ask for logic. It doesn't wait for your schedule. It just arrives uninvited, sometimes inconvenient, always undeniable. This energy is nature itself. It's the same force that makes flowers bloom, that drives animals to mate, that pushes the ocean tides. It's the engine behind creation. And yet, for most people, it's experienced only at the surface, in fleeting pleasure, in fantasy, in addiction, or in guilt. But when you strip away the labels, when you stop trying to judge it or obey it, what you're left with is fuel. Pure, untamed fuel, the kind that can light up cities if you learn how to harness it, or burn down empires if you don't. Most people never pause long enough to see lust for what it really is. They either run from it or fall into it. But to understand it, to stand in front of that wave without flinching, that's where transformation begins. Sexual energy is much more than the physical urge to connect with another person. It's a fundamental life force that courses through every living being. This energy is creative at its core, not just in the sense of making babies, but in the way it sparks imagination, passion, and transformation. Think about the moments when you feel truly alive, when your heart races, your senses heighten, and your mind becomes electric with possibility. That feeling, that surge, often originates from the same wellspring as sexual energy. It's the pulse behind every great work of art, the inspiration behind every bold idea, the relentless drive pushing athletes to break limits. Sexual energy is the language of creation itself. It's the spark that ignites evolution, the flame that fuels innovation, and the current that moves culture forward. It exists in all forms of creative expression, whether it's painting a masterpiece, writing a novel, or building a business. When harnessed consciously, this energy transforms from mere desire into a powerful force for manifestation. It flows through the body, feeding vitality and endurance, strengthening focus and willpower. It's the energy that doesn't just sustain life, but elevates it, connecting mind, body, and spirit in one seamless dance of becoming. Most people experience sexual energy only as a physical urge or emotional craving, but it's much more profound. It's a raw, dynamic force that holds the potential to awaken greatness within, waiting patiently for those willing to recognize its depth and channel its power. The moment lust is chased without mindfulness, it becomes a trap, a spiral that consumes more than it gives. Indulgence in lust without awareness is like pouring precious fuel into a fire that only burns you out faster. The pleasure is temporary, fleeting, and often leaves behind a residue of emptiness. When lust is treated as something to be constantly satisfied, it begins to control you rather than being a source of strength. The mind becomes distracted, scattered, and restless, always seeking the next hit of satisfaction. The body feels drained, heavy, and disconnected, robbed of the very energy it needs to thrive. There's a subtle exhaustion that comes from this cycle, a dullness creeping into the spirit. The energy that could have been harnessed for creation, for focus, for deep connection, instead dissipates into momentary thrills. These thrills, like mirages, promise fulfillment, but deliver only a deeper hunger. Indulgence numbs the senses, dulls the mind, and fragments the soul. It blinds you to the deeper currents beneath the surface. the true potential locked inside this force. The more you give yourself over to mindless gratification, the more disconnected you become from your own power. It's a paradox. Lust can energize or it can exhaust, uplift or degrade. The difference lies not in the energy itself, but in how it is engaged. Without a conscious approach, indulgence becomes a drain, siphoning away the very essence that could fuel greatness. Transmutation is the secret alchemy that transforms lust from a raw, unrefined force into something profound and life-changing. It's the art of taking that intense, often restless energy and consciously redirecting it, not outwardly for immediate gratification, but inwardly for growth, creation, and expansion. Imagine for a moment that sexual energy is like a river flowing with tremendous power. When left unchecked, it rushes downstream, crashing over rocks and dissipating into the ocean of fleeting pleasures. But when guided with intention, this same river can be channeled to irrigate fields, turn mills, and bring life to barren lands. This process, transmutation, is the moment of choice. It's when you pause, when you refuse to be a slave to impulse, and instead become the master of your own energy. Instead of expending this energy in momentary release, you conserve it, cultivate it, and let it rise within, fueling your mind and spirit. This inner turning transforms lust from a force that fragments and scatters into a source of focus and creativity. The raw charge of desire, when alchemized, becomes mental clarity, emotional resilience, and spiritual strength. It empowers you to pursue your passions with more intensity, discipline, and purpose. Transmutation requires practice. It's not about suppression or denial, but about conscious choice and redirection. It's an art as old as humanity itself, practiced by sages, artists, and leaders throughout history who understood that sexual energy, when transmuted, is the fuel for greatness beyond the physical realm. Throughout history, the most extraordinary individuals understood the power of sexual energy not as something to be wasted or hidden, but as a wellspring of creative force to be consciously harnessed. These are the people who turned raw desire into masterpieces, revolutions, and profound legacies. Think of the great artists, painters, poets, musicians who channeled their intense passions into their work. Their creations weren't born from mere technique or talent alone, but from the fiery energy that burned within them. That energy, often fueled by desire, became a source of inspiration, pushing boundaries and breaking new ground. Consider leaders and visionaries who faced immense challenges, yet maintained a rare focus and magnetic presence. Their secret was often an inner reservoir of vitality, fueled by disciplined transformation of their impulses. They transmuted lust into courage, drive, and strategic vision, qualities that shaped nations and changed the course of history. Even in everyday life, those who learn to master this energy find themselves imbued with a special kind of charisma. They radiate confidence and passion, not because they constantly seek pleasure, but because they have learned to conserve and redirect their sexual force. This energy makes them resilient, creative, and unstoppable. The pattern repeats again and again, from ancient philosophers and monks who practiced celibacy to channel energy into enlightenment, to modern innovators who devote their lives to creating something greater than themselves. Sexual energy, when consciously transmuted, becomes a key ingredient in the alchemy of greatness. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction or punishment, but when it comes to sexual energy, discipline is actually the pathway to true freedom. It's the practice of mastering your impulses, not suppressing them, but choosing consciously when, how, and where to express that energy. Without discipline, sexual energy runs wild. It pulls you in every direction, scattering your focus and draining your vitality. But with discipline, that same energy becomes a wellspring of strength and creativity. It sharpens the mind, fortifies the will, and deepens your sense of purpose. Imagine the power that arises when you are no longer a slave to fleeting desires, when you don't act on every impulse but instead observe, understand, and decide your course. This self-governance brings a profound sense of control, a calm authority over your own body and mind. Discipline in this realm is not about denial, it's about transformation. It's about recognizing the sacredness of this energy and treating it with respect. The energy once spent on momentary pleasure is conserved, redirected, and multiplied. You become a steward of your own power. In this way, discipline is a form of liberation. It frees you from the chaos of compulsive behavior and connects you with a deeper source of vitality. The more you practice this mastery, the more your sexual energy fuels your goals rather than distracts from them. One of the most transformative shifts in relating to sexual energy is choosing presence over pleasure. Pleasure is fleeting, an external spark that ignites and fades quickly. Presence, on the other hand, is a deep, grounded awareness of what's happening inside and around you. When you approach lust and desire with presence, you're no longer rushing toward gratification or running from discomfort. Instead, you become fully attuned to the sensations, emotions, and thoughts that arise. You watch them with curiosity rather than judgment, allowing the energy to move through you without losing yourself in it. This presence creates a space where you can observe the subtle currents of desire without being swept away. It sharpens your consciousness, making you more aware of how sexual energy interacts with your mind and body. You begin to see desire not just as a craving, but as a messenger pointing you toward your deeper needs, your creative impulses, your vital essence. Being present also dissolves the restlessness and anxiety that often accompany unchecked lust. Instead of being caught in a chase, you step into a state of calm power. Your attention becomes a laser beam, focused and steady, able to channel that energy toward meaningful action. Presence transforms sexual energy from a blind force into a conscious resource. It's the difference between being driven by desire and dancing with it, aware, intentional, and fully alive. The journey from lust to greatness is, at its heart, a profound act of inner alchemy. Alchemy isn't just about turning lead into gold. It's a metaphor for transforming the dense, physical cravings of the body into the luminous fire of inspiration and achievement. This alchemy begins when you recognize that sexual energy is not merely a physical sensation or a fleeting desire, but a powerful force that can be refined and elevated. Like raw ore buried deep underground, it holds immense potential, waiting to be mined and purified. Transforming this energy requires patience, intention, and practice. It means learning to harness the intensity of lust without letting it consume you. Instead of being carried away by impulse, you channel that vitality upward through your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. This transformation fuels creativity, insight, and motivation. The restless energy becomes a dynamic flow that propels you forward, pushing through obstacles, inspiring new ideas, and deepening your connection to purpose. It's a subtle but profound shift from seeking external pleasure to cultivating internal power. The alchemy of sexual energy is also deeply spiritual. It bridges the gap between body and soul, connecting the physical with the metaphysical. As you refine this force, it lights the way to greater self-awareness, compassion, and transcendence. This inner transformation is what separates ordinary desire from extraordinary greatness. It's the secret that many never discover, but those who do unlock a wellspring of limitless possibility. When you learn to own your sexual energy, when you no longer feel compelled to spend it recklessly or seek constant external validation, you begin to radiate something magnetic. This isn't about physical attractiveness alone. It's a deep, vibrant charisma that draws people in, commands respect, and inspires loyalty. There's a distinct energy that surrounds those who have mastered this force. It's a quiet confidence, an unshakable presence that says, "I am grounded in my power." This magnetic quality isn't manufactured. It's a natural byproduct of inner balance, self-mastery, and purposeful living. Being magnetic in this way means you don't have to chase attention or approval. Instead, you effortlessly attract opportunities, connections, and abundance because your energy resonates on a higher frequency. People sense your vitality, your clarity, and your authenticity, and they are drawn to it. This energy also fuels resilience. When challenges arise, you have the inner reserves to stand firm, to persevere, and to lead with conviction. You become unstoppable not because you are forceful or aggressive, but because your power is steady, controlled, and deeply rooted. In mastering sexual energy, you tap into one of the most primal and potent forces within yourself. This mastery unlocks not only your creative potential, but also your ability to influence and elevate the world around you.